In fairness to him, he's pretty passionate about this. He spoke passionately last week. He supports the current policy we've got, and he made that very clear. I think what he was seeking was the input of the other CEOs, and I guess asking the question, is there any more we should be doing as a football code? Should we put our minds to thinking about how we tackle this issue and other issues that relate to our players? So we agreed to get together at the end of January. I think the day of the meeting is January the 30th, which actually wasn't a scheduled CEO's meeting, to try and talk about this in a very mature way and think about ways that we can, perhaps even improve what we've currently got.
Given what he said, how do you feel about your current drugs policy?
Look, we have got a policy in place which we know is working. We know from all the data. We know from other codes are now adopting it around the world. We know from our medical officers the results about how it's helping shift attitudes. It's purely a welfare model, but if there's any ways that we can improve it, we're always open to improving it. But it shouldn't just be looked in isolation about an issue within AFL. I mean, our AFL players, as a percentage of the population of 18 to 30-year-olds, is significantly low compared to what's happening out in the community. This is a broad issue which collectively as a community we have to try and tackle, and we have to tackle it together. With our players, they get 8 weeks annual leave off a year. When they're at the club, they're in a very structured, disciplined environment. They are meticulous in their preparation, almost to the point of a fanatical obsession to be the best, to win, and that permeates throughout the club. And then what happens to our players as young men, once they're on their break, it's a release for them. And we need to think about that they're so structured in that 10 months that when they're not at the club, they can be vulnerable, and it involves binge drinking, for example. It involves behavioural issues. It perhaps can involve the use of illicit drugs, but in a sort of a bizarre way, when they're at the club, they're actually much less inclined to get involved in that sort of behaviour, but you can't have them not having a break. So that's an issue we thought we would tackle again in January. I thought it was very courageous of Gary to get up and speak in front of the CEOs. I had my management team there. He wanted to speak about it. It's not an issue that we've run away from. No. Now, we've been up front, head on, tackling this issue of illicit drug use. But he spoke about it, and I think the other CEOs appreciated the fact that he felt comfortable to talk about it as an issue, and that's why we all agreed unanimously to get together earlier than our pre-arranged meeting. And I'm looking forward to that discussion. We deal with issues every day that sometimes you prefer they aren't issues. We're dealing with a couple of those at the moment, but no, we're pretty realistic and pragmatic to know that things happen. We've got to confront them. We're not unhappy about anything that's been raised, to be honest.